Greetings, everyone's Rockwell's Connection with the second portion of Magic the Gathering Theros Beyond Death unboxing series. So, just a second ago, we opened up both Planeswalker decks, went through the two. The two boosters that were found in each one will be opened tomorrow alongside the booster box, as mentioned previously. So now, however, it's on to the bundle. Alright. Okay. And let's take a look at the sleeve. That's kind of cool, I guess. I've definitely seen more interesting ones, but, you know, not bad. Alright, so let's get this show on the road, shall we? Okay. Yeah, that'll work. Alright, there's our 20-card life counter. Lands, more reminder cards. Alright. And so, actually, we'll start with these. First off, let's we got ourselves a land pack. Now, bundles used to come with a massive land pack, which would have, like, I want to say 80 cards. It would be like, figure you had basically 4 of each basic land. Alright, we have plains, islands, swamps. Okay. Here are the mountains. Here's the mountain artwork. And the forest artwork. Not too shabby. They're all numbered for outside of the set, so we'll see what that ends up translating to. Then we got another batch of cards. And it starts off with a foil, Arasta of the Endless Web. It's a legendary enchantment spider, 3/5 enchantment spider for 2 colorless and 2 green. Has reach, so it can attack. It can block creatures with flying. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach. Ooh. We've also got foils of all the lands. Okay. So we got 2 of each foil. Alright, so on to the boosters. Alright, starting off with Mogus's Favor. It's a black enchantment creature enchantment for 1 black. Enchanted creature gets +2/-1. Has escape, 2 colorless, 1 black. Exile 2 other cards from your graveyard. Okay. For those unfamiliar with the original Theros block, Mogus is the god of slaughter, and he is depicted as being a minotaur. He's red and black. Next up, we have Pious Wayfarer. It's a 1/2 human scout for 1 white. Has keyword Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Okay. We got another Unknown Shores. Next up, we have Flummoxed Cyclops. 4/4 Cyclops with reach for 3 colorless and 1 red. Whenever 2 or more creatures your opponents control attack, Flummoxed Cyclops can't block this combat. Interesting. Next up, we have Cetizen Skirmisher, a 2/1 human warrior for 1 colorless and 1 green with the Constellation ability. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, Cetizen Skirmisher gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Okay, alright. Next up, we've got Nyxborn Seaguard. So, Nyx is kind of if I remember correctly, basically the dream world when it comes to Theros. Or was it no, I think it is the dream. It's basically the dream world. So anyways, Nyxborn Seaguard is a 2/5 enchantment merfolk soldier for 2 colorless and 2 blue. And I'll probably come up with a better way of saying it, of bringing up enchantment creatures than just that, but yeah. Next up, we've got Thrill of Possibility. It's an instant for 1 colorless and 1 red. It has an additional cost to cast it, discard a card. Then the effect is that you draw 2 cards. Next up, we've got Nyxborn Colossus. A 6/7 giant that's also an enchantment for 3 colorless and 3 green. Next up, we've got another Myra's Grasp. Then Fateful End. It's an instant for 2 colorless and 1 red. Fateful End deals 3 damage to any target. Scry 1. Okay. Next up is Clothos's Design. It's a sorcery for 5 colorless and 1 green. Creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X your devotion to green. So, X being the number of green mana symbols amongst permanents you control. To reiterate what devotion means. Then we got ourselves another Hero of the Winds. And then Temple of Enlightenment, which is a land. Generates with blue and white mana. Enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield, scry 1. Okay, not too shabby. Oh, we got ourselves a foil, Heroes of the Revel. 4/4 Satyr's Soldier for 4 colorless and 1 red. When Heroes of the Revel enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red Satyr creature token with this creature can't block. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Heroes of the Revel, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Okay. And here is the island for, yeah. You know, I'm not digging this design for lands. Like, actually show lands, you know? And we got a human soldier token. Yeah, that's a thought. I didn't think about that. All right. Next booster. Alright, we open up with Grim Physician. A 1/1 zombie for 1 black. When Grim Physician dies, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Okay. Next up, Transcendent Envoy. A 1/2 Griffin with flying. It's also an enchantment for 1 colorless and 1 white. Aura spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast. Okay. I am actually quite fond of auras, so yeah. Next up is Lampid of Death's Vigil. A 1/3 nymph that's also an enchantment for 1 colorless and 1 black. 1 colorless, sacrifice a creature. Each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Okay. Next up, Scavenging Harpy. A 2/1 Harpy with flying for 2 colorless and 1 black. When Scavenging Harpy enters the battlefield, exile target card from opponent's graveyard. Alright. Next up, we got Loathsome Chimera. A 4/1 Chimera for 2 colorless and 1 green with Escape. Its escape cost is 4 colorless and 1 green, and then exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. It escapes with a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay. Next up, we've got Ichthyomorphosis. It's a creature enchantment for 2 colorless and 1 blue. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a blue fish with base power and toughness 0/1. That's kind of mean. Fun, but mean. Next up, we've got Aspect of Manticore. It's a creature enchantment with flash for 2 colorless and 1 red. When Aspect of Manticore enters the battlefield, enchanted creature gains first strike until the end of the turn. Enchanted creature gets +2/+0. Okay. Next up, we've got Nylea's Forerunner. It's a 5/3 beast. It's also with trample. It's also an enchantment for 4 colorless and 1 green. Other creatures you control have trample. Okay. Next up, we've got Witness of Tomorrows. A 3/4 Sphinx. It's also with flying. It's also an enchantment for 4 colorless and 1 blue. And for 3 colorless and 1 blue, you can scry 1. Next up, Sea God's Scorn. It's a sorcery for 4 colorless and 2 blue. Return up to 3 target creatures and or enchantments to their owner's hands. Okay. Next up, we've got Inevitable End. It's a creature enchantment for 2 colorless and 1 black. Enchanted creature has, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. Okay. Sagas are back. Speaking of which, next up we have The Binding of the Titans. It's a saga enchantment for 1 colorless and 1 green. Saga cards tell a story, basically. Okay, so as this saga enters and after your draw step, add a lore counter. Sacrifice after 3. 1 lore counter. Each player puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. 2. Exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. For each creature card exiled this way, you gain 1 life. 3. Return target creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. Sagas were initially introduced back in Dominaria, which is actually the first Magic set we did an unboxing of. And yeah, that was actually part of the advertisement for this set, was that Sagas were back. So anyway, moving on, however, we've got Storm's Wrath. It's a sorcery for 2 colorless and 2 red. Storm's Wrath deals 4 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Nice. And we got ourselves another foil. And oh boy, what a foil did we get. Nylea, Keen-Eyed. A 5/6 legendary god who's also an enchantment. She has indestructible and costs 3 colorless and 1 green. As long as your devotion to green is less than 5, Nylea isn't a creature. Creature spells you cast cost 1 colorless mana less to cast. For 2 colorless and 1 green, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it into your graveyard. Not too shabby. Then we got a Plains. Said I don't like this. I hope this is just for this set. And they're planning to go back to, something a bit normal for basic lands. Moving on. It's interesting that we haven't gotten a single artifact as of yet. Of course, we are only 2 boosters into the bundle, but still. It does strike me as a little odd. Alrighty. We start off with Nyxborn Courser, a 2/4 Centaur Scout that's also an enchantment for 1 colorless and 2 white. Here we go. Next up, Thaumaturge's Familiar. It's a artifact bird. A 1/3 artifact bird with flying for 3 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. Next up, we've got Nyxborn Marauder. It's It's a 4/3 Minotaur that's also an enchantment for 2 colorless and 2 black. Next up is Sentinel's Eyes. It's a creature enchantment for 1 white. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. Also has escape, 1 white. Exile 2 other cards from your graveyard. Interesting. Next up, we've got Hyrax Tower Scout. The 3/3 human scout for 2 colorless and 1 green. When it enters the battlefield, untap target creature. Okay. Next up, Riptide Turtle. A 0/5 turtle with Flash and Defender for 1 colorless and 1 blue. Then we've got Underworld Rage Hound, a 3/1 elemental hound for 1 colorless and 1 red. It attacks each turn if able. It has escape, 3 colorless, 1 red. Exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. And it escapes with a +1/+1 counter on it. Next up, we've got Nylea's Huntmaster, a 4/3 Centaur Shaman for 3 colorless and 2 green, and 1 green. And when Nylea's Huntmaster enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is your devotion to green. Next up, Incendiary Oracle, a 2/2 human shaman for 1 colorless and 1 red. For 1 colorless and 1 red, Incendiary Oracle gets +1/+0 until end of turn. If a creature dealt damage by Incendiary Oracle this turn would die, exile it instead. Okay. We got our Daybreak Chimera. Then we've got Field of Ruin. It's a land. Tap, add 1 colorless. 2 colorless, tap, sacrifice Field of Ruin. Destroy target non-basic land that opponent controls. Each player searches their land for a basic land card, puts it onto the battlefield, then shuffles their library. Interesting. Next up, we got Warden of the Chained. A 4/4 Minotaur warrior with trample for 1 colorless, 1 red, and 1 green. Warden of the Chain can't attack unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. Okay. Next up, we've got Hydra's Growth. It's a creature enchantment for 2 colorless and 1 green. When Hydra's Growth enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on an enchanted creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of +1/+1 counters on an enchanted creature. Interesting. I kind of like that. Then we got ourselves another Gravebreaker Lamia. Followed up by a Forest. And a Goat token. Okay. Alright, next up we've got Inspire Awe. It's an instant for 3 colorless and 1 green. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn except combat damage will be dealt by enchanted creatures and enchantment creatures. Scry 2. Okay. We've got our Underworld Charger, another Indomitable Will. Then we got Deny the Divine. It's an instant for 2 colorless and 1 blue. Counter target creature or enchantment spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Ooh. Next up is Erois' Blessing. It's a creature enchantment for 3 colorless and 1 red. It must go on a creature that you control, though. When Eros' Blessing enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. Okay. Next up, we've got Return to Nature. It's an instant for 1 colorless and 1 green. Choose 1. Destroy target artifact. Destroy target enchantment. Exile target card from a graveyard. Next up is Wrap in Flames, which is a sorcery for 3 colorless and 1 red. Wrap in Flames deals 1 damage to each of up to 3 target creatures. Those creatures can't block this turn. Okay. That's followed up by Cetizen Training, a creature enchantment for 1 colorless and 1 green. And much like Eros' Blessing, it must go on a creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and the enchanted creature gets +1/+0 and has Trample. Okay. That's followed up by Thirst for Meaning, an instant for 2 colorless and 1 blue. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an enchantment card. Okay. Next up, we've got Careless Celebrant, 2/1 Satyr Shaman for 1 colorless and 1 red. When Careless Celebrant dies, it deals 2 damage to a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Okay. Next up, we've got Elspeth's Nightmare. It's another saga for 2 colorless and 1 black. 1. Destroy target creature an opponent controls with power 2 or less. 2. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. 3. Exile target opponent's graveyard. Ooh. That could totally screw over someone focusing on escape. Next up, we've got Dawn Evangel, a 2/3 human cleric. It's also an enchantment for 2 colorless and 1 white. Whenever a creature dies, if an aura you control was attached to it, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. Next up, our rare is Protean Thaumaturge, a 1/1 human wizard with 1 colorless and 1 blue, as well as the Constellation ability. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under control, you may have Protean Thaumaturge become a copy of another target creature, except it has this ability. Oh, we got a shiny swamp. And a non-shiny swamp. That's kind of neat. That is nifty. Alright, next booster. I honestly have no idea what the big name cards are in this set, so obviously multiple of the Theros gods are back. And there's obviously an Elspeth and an Ashiok. Aside from that, though, I got nothing. Alright. First off, we've got Wings of Hubris. Equipment artifact for 2 colorless. Equipped creature has flying. Sacrifice Wings of Hubris. Equipped creature can't be blocked this turn. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. It has an equip cost of 1. Next up, we've got Fruit of Tyzeris. Sorcery for 1 black. Target player loses 2 life. Escape. 3 colorless, 1 black. Exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. Okay. Next up is Heliod's Pilgrim. A 1/2 human cleric for 2 colorless and 1 white. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an aura card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. Okay. Got another Towering Wave Mystic. We got Irreverent Revelers. 2/2 satyr for 2 colorless and 1 red. When they enter the battlefield, choose one. Destroy target artifact, or Irreverent Revelers gain haste until end of turn. Okay. Next up is Voracious Typhon. A 4/4 snake beast for 2 colorless and 2 green. Also has the escape ability for 5 colorless and 2 green. Then exile 4 other cards from your graveyard, and it escapes with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Next up, we've got Hero of the Pride, a 2/2 cat soldier for 1 colorless and 1 white. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Hero of the Pride, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Alright. Next up, we've got Portent of Betrayal. It's a sorcery for 3 colorless and 1 red. Gain control of a target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. Scry 1. Next up, we've got Brine Giant, a 5/6 giant for 6 colorless and 1 blue. This spell costs 1 colorless less to cast for each enchantment you control. Okay, I'll have to keep that one in mind. That one's followed up by Hero of the Games, a 3/2 human soldier for 2 colorless and 1 red. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Hero of the Games, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Next, it comes One with the Stars, which is a creature enchantment for 3 colorless and 1 blue, and it can only enchant a creature that you control. Enchanted permanent. Oh, no, it's not just a creature. It can enchant either a creature or enchantment. It need not be one you control. Enchanted permanent is an enchantment and loses all other card types. Interesting. This is followed up by Slaughter Priest of Mogus, a 2/2 Minotaur Shaman for 1 black and 1 red. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, Slaughter Priest of Mogus gets +2/+0 until end of turn. 2 colorless, sacrifice another creature or an enchantment. Slaughter Priest of Mogus gains first strike until end of turn. Not bad. Then we've got Caliph, Beloved of the Sea, legendary demigod for 1 colorless and 2 blue. Power is equal to devotion to blue, has a toughness of 3. Creatures and enchantments you control have spells your opponents cast that target this permanent cost 1 colorless more to cast. Okay. Next up we have Calyx, Destiny's Hand. The Planeswalker for 2 colorless, 1 green, and 1 white. Starts off with 4 loyalty. If you add 1 loyalty, you can look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an enchantment card from among them and put that card into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Remove 3. Exile target creature or enchantment you don't control until target enchantment you control leaves the battlefield. Remove 7. Return all enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Ooh, that's nice. Now we got ourselves our forest and a reflection token. It's a 3/2 creature token. Be interesting to see what makes that. That's not too shabby. We basically pulled 2 mythics thus far. We're at the halfway point, so you know. Things are looking good, I'd say. Alright, next up we've got Rage Scarred Berserker. Minotaur Berserker, a 5/4 Minotaur Berserker for 4 colorless and 1 black. When it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until the end of turn. Alright. We got another Leonin of the Lost Pride. We got Memory Drain. It's an instant for 2 colorless and 2 blue. Counter target spell. Scry 2. There's Lampent of Death's Vigil. We got Omen of the Sea. It's an enchantment with flash for 1 colorless and 1 blue. When Omen of the Sea enters the battlefield, scry 2, then draw a card. 2 colorless, 1 blue. Sacrifice Omen of the Sea. Scry 2. Next up, we've got Nexus Wardens. 1 4 archers with reach for 2 colorless and 1 green. Then you've got Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. Okay. Alright, next up. Naiad of Hidden Coves. The 2/3 nymph that's also an enchantment for 2 colorless and 1 blue. As long as it's not your turn, spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast. Okay. Let's follow it up by Infuriate, an instant for 1 red. Target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn. Okay. Then we got Moss Viper, a 1/1 snake with Death Touch for 1 green. Then Furious Rise, an enchantment for 2 colorless and 1 red. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until you exile another card with Furious Rise. Okay. Next up, we got Wolf Willow Haven. It's a land enchantment for 1 colorless and 1 green. Whenever an enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional green mana. 4 colorless, 1 green. Sacrifice Wolf Willow Haven. Create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. Activate its ability only during your turn. Okay. We got a little Archon of Falling Stars. Ooh! Got ourselves another mythic. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. A 6/6 legendary elder giant. For 1 colorless, 1 green, and 1 blue. When Uro enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. Whenever Uro enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Escape. 2 colorless, 2 blue. Exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. Woof. Then we've got Farika's Libation. It's an instant for 2 colorless and 1 black. It's a foil of Farika's Libation. Choose one. Target opponent sacrifices a creature. Target opponent sacrifices an enchantment. And then we've got Mountain. And another human soldier token. Next booster, Omen of the Sun. It's an enchantment with flash for 2 colorless and 1 white. When Omen of the Sun enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens, and you gain 2 life. 2 colorless, 1 blue or 1 white. Sacrifice Omen of the Sun. Scry 2. Next up is Eidolon of Philosophy. 1/2 spirit for it's also an enchantment for 1 blue. 6 colorless, 1 blue. Sacrifice Eidolon of Philosophy. Draw 3 cards. Next up, we've got Soul Reaper of Mogus. The 2/3 Minotaur Shaman is also an enchantment for 2 colorless and 1 black. 2 colorless, 1 black. Sacrifice a creature. Draw a card. Got another card. I think it's this. Let's see. Yeah. Another Karametra's Blessing. Then we've got Revoke Existence. It's a sorcery for 1 colorless and 1 white. Exile target artifact or enchantment. Okay. Another Nyxborn Colossus. We got Vexing Gull, a 2/2 bird with flash and flying for 2 colorless and 1 blue. Followed up by Ored of Mountain's Blaze, a 1/3 nymph that's also an enchantment for 1 colorless and 1 red. For 2 colorless and 1 red, you may discard a card and then draw a card. Next up, we've got Plummet, a one colorless, 1 blue instant for allows you to destroy target creature with flying. Another Flummoxed Cyclops. We got Shoal Kraken, a 3/5 Kraken for 4 colorless and 1 blue. It's also got the Constellation ability. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Okay. Next up is Hateful Eidolon. It's a 1/2 spirit with. It's also an enchantment with lifelink for 1 black. Whenever an enchanted creature dies, draw a card for each R you controlled that was attached to it. So we're kind of pushing towards stacking enchantments on creatures a little. Always, which is totally fine, and it's just, not something that generally the thought is, well, unless you're going for like having that one, basically that one creature army. Next up is Cetizen Petitioner, a 2/2 human druid for 1 colorless and 2 green. When it enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to your devotion to green. Okay, I like that. Next up, we've got Thrix, the Sudden Storm, a 4/5 legendary elemental giant with flash and flying for 3 colorless and 2 blue. Spells you cast with converted mana cost 5 or greater cost 1 colorless mana less to cast and can't be countered. Nice. But planes. And on to the next one. Okay, first off, we've got Chain to Memory. It's an instant for 1 blue. Target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn. Scry 2. We got a non-foil for Rika's Libation. Next up, Glory Bearers. 3/4 human cleric. It's also an enchantment for 3 colorless and 1 white. Whenever another creature you control attacks, it gets +0/+1 until end of turn. Okay. Next up, we got a Bronze Sword. It's an equipment artifact for 1 colorless. Has an equip cost of 3. The equipped creature gets +2/+0. Not too shabby. Shows another Cetizen Skirmisher. Another Nyxborn Seaguard. Another Thrill of Possibility. You got Relentless Pursuit. It's a sorcery for 2 colorless and 1 green. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a creature card and or a land card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. Okay. Next up, we've got Venomous Hierophant. A 3/3 Gorgon cleric with Death Touch for 3 colorless and 1 black. When Venomous Hierophant enters the battlefield, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Okay. Next up, Final Flare. It's an instant for 2 colorless and 1 red. As an additional cost to cast it, sacrifice a creature or enchantment. Final Flare deals 5 damage to target creature. Okay. Next up, we've got Blood Aspirant. A 1/1 Satyr Berserker for 1 colorless and 1 red. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Blood Aspirant. 1 colorless, 1 red, tap. Sacrifice a creature or permanent. Blood Aspirant deals 1 damage to target creature. That creature can't block this turn. Okay. Next up, we've got Shimmerwing Chimera. 3/2 Chimera with flying is also an enchantment for 3 colorless and 1 blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, return up to 1 other target enchantment you control to its owner's hand. Next up, we've got Staggering Insight. It's a creature enchantment for 1 white and 1 blue. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. And then we've got Gallia of the Endless Dance. A 2/2 legendary satyr with haste for 1 red and 1 green. Other satyrs you control get +1/+1 and have haste. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you may discard a card at random. If you do, draw 2 cards. We got our Forest and an Elemental token. That's an Elemental token with Trample and Haste. And variable power. Alright, 2 more boosters to go. Okay, start off with our Funeral Rites. Then we got Triumphant Surge. It's an instant for 3 colorless and 1 white. Destroy a target creature with power 4 or greater. You gain 3 life. For their Unknown Shores. Then we got Blight Breath. Ktobopas. It's a 3/2 beast for 4 colorless and 2 black. When it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is your devotion to black. Okay. Another Witness of Tomorrows. Then we got Scophos War Leader. A 4/5 Minotaur Warrior for 4 colorless and 1 red. 1 red. Sacrifice another creature or an enchantment. Scophos War Leader gets +1/+0 and gains menace until end of turn. Okay. Next up, we've got Warbriar Blessing. It's a creature enchantment for 1 colorless and 1 green. It must enchant a creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, the enchanted creature fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. And the enchanted creature gets +0/+2. Next up, we've got Triton Wave Rider. A 3/3 Merfolk Wizard for 3 colorless and 1 blue. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, Triton Wave Rider gains flying until end of turn. Okay. Mire's Grasp. We got Starlit Mantle, which is an enchantment for 1 with flash for 1 colorless and 1 blue. Enchanted creature you control. When Starlit Mantle enters the battlefield, enchanted creature gains hexproof until end of turn. Enchanted creature also gains +1/+1. Next up, we've got Soul Guide Lanterns, an artifact for 1 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, exile target card from a graveyard. Tap, sacrifice Soul Guide Lantern. Exile each opponent's graveyard. 1 colorless, tap, sacrifice Soul Guide Lantern. draw a card. We got ourselves another Glimpse of Freedom. Then we got a Reverent Hoplite. A 1/2 Human Soldier for 4 colorless and 1 white. When it enters the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 white Human Soldier creature tokens equal to your devotion to white. Okay. And that's followed up by Shatter the Sky. A sorcery for 2 colorless and 2 white. Each player who controls a creature with power 4 or greater draws a card. Then, destroy all creatures. Yay! Board wipes! Got our planes, and another reflection token. Excuse me. Alright. Last pack from the bundle. Alright, start off with this Triumphant Surge, now our Freaka's Libation, their Blight Breath Catoblepas, their Glory Bearers. Okay, here's one new. Elysian Caryatid. A 1/1 plant for 1 colorless and 1 green. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, add 2 mana of any color instead. Nice. Next up, Sahir's Cunning. Sorcery for 1 red. Create a 1/1 red Sahir creature token with this creature can't block. It has escape as well. 2 colorless, 1 red. Exile 2 other cards from your graveyard. Okay. Another Venomous Hierophant. Another Vexing Gull. Another Ored of Mountains Blaze. Another Warbriar Blessing. We got Dream Shaper Shaman. A 5/4 Minotaur Shaman that's also an enchantment for 5 colorless and 1 red. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 2 colorless and 1 red and sacrifice a non-land permanent. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land permanent card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Okay. Next up, we've got Siona, Captain of the Pyleus. Legendary 2/2 Human Soldier for 1 colorless and 1 green and 1 white. When she enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal an aura card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest of them on the bottom of your library in a random order. Whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a creature you control, create a 1/1 white Human Soldier creature token. Okay, alright. Next up, we've got Anax, Hardened in the Forge. A legendary demigod is also an enchantment for 1 colorless and 2 red. Power is equal to devotion to red. Toughness is 3. Whenever Anax or another non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 red Sahir creature token with this creature can't block. If the creature had power 4 or greater, create 2 of those tokens instead. Okay. Then another mythic, Ox of Aganax. It's a 4/2 Ox for 3 colorless and 2 red. When Ox of Aganas enters the battlefield, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. Escape, 2 red, exile 8 other cards from your graveyard. Ox of Aganas escapes with a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay. So then you got our mountain and another goat token. Alright, that's it for the bundle. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.